Okay, the next topic is factoring. And basically, this is a map that will guide you through the factoring. So whenever you have two terms, these are the two options that we have. Difference of squares, sum of difference of two cubes. If we have three terms, then we can factor using this. You might have this method or this method. So here are some examples. And then if you have four terms, we factor by grouping. So that's what we're going to be discussing in the next few pages. So factoring, there are many ways to factor. You will learn different strategies for factoring. Some strategies are easier than others, and some don't work for some problems. And so we need different strategies. To factor means to break up a number into the product of two other numbers. So for example, the number 2 and 3 are called factors of 6 because 2 times 3 will give you 6. Are there any other factors of 6? 1 times 6 will also give you 6. So we say the factors of 6 are 1, 2, 3, and 6. So we want to find all the factors of 20. So basically, to find the factors of 20, it's going to be all the numbers that give you 20. So 1 times 20 is 20, 2 times 10 is 20, 4 times 5 is 20. And the factors will be 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. Factors of 24. So we get 1 times 24, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. And so we say the factors are 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. Okay, so it says list the common factors of 20 and 24 in example 1 and 2. So let me list the factors of 20. Were 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, and 20. And for 24, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 8, 12, and 24. And I'm going to circle what they have in common. So we have 1 is in common, 2, 4, and that's it. So 1, 2, and 4 are common factors, but the greatest of the common factors, so these are the common factors, but the greatest is going to be 4. Okay, so we call this the greatest common factor, or we use GCF for short, greatest common factor. So now, for example 8, it says factor out the greatest common factor. So you want to look at the numbers 8 and 4, and you can list the factors. So for 4, we get 1 times 4 and 2 times 2. And for 8, we get 1 times 8 and 2 times 4. The greatest common factor, as you can see here, is 4. And so what we're going to do is we're going to factor this 4 out of the problem here. So this is what we have, 8x minus 4. To factor out of 4, we're basically dividing each of these by that greatest common factor. So 8 divided by 4 is 2, and 4 divided by 4 is minus 1. So as you can see here, 4 times 2x is 8x. 4 times negative 1 is negative 4. So that's what it means by factor out the greatest common factor. On the next one, the numbers are 6, 15, and 24. So first we identify the factors 1 and 6, 2 and 3. 15 is 1, 3, 5, and 15. And 24 is 1, 24, 2 and 12, 3 and 8, and 4 and 6. So the greatest common factor here is going to be 3. So we write the greatest common factor on the outside. And then let me write the problem again. And so for each coefficient here, we're dividing by 3 because that's the common factor. So 6 divided by 3, 6 divided by 3 is 2x, 15y divided by 3 is 5y, and negative 24 divided by 3 is minus 8. So my factor form is 3 times 2x plus 5y minus 8. On the next one, we have 4, 3, and 19. So my factors for 4 are 1, 2, and 4. For 3, it's 1 and 3. And for 19, 1 and 19. So our greatest common factor here is 1. And if I write the 1 on the outside, and I divide all my terms by 1, 4 divided by 1 is just 4x. Negative 3y divided by 1 is 3y. 19 divided by 1 is 19. And so notice that you still get the same thing back. So whenever your greatest common factor is 1, you're always just going to end up with the same thing. Let's go on to the next one. Factor each expression. So the first thing we want to do is worry about the numbers. So we have 9. The factors of 9 are 1, 3, and 9. The factors of 3 are 1 and 3. So my greatest common factor is 3. So I'm going to write 3 on the outside. So if I divide everything by 3, we get 9 divided by 3 is 3. And 3 divided by 3 is 1. So now here, if you notice, they both have x's in common. So this is x squared and this is an x. So we also have to worry about the x's. So for x squared, we can write this as x times x. And then for x, we just have 1x. So your greatest common factor for these variables, notice I can only circle 1. So what's going to happen is not only do we have the 3 outside, now we're going to have 1x outside. And so if I divide this by 1x, then I'm going to end up with x squared divided by x is going to be 1x, and x divided by x is 1. So if we check our work, we get 3x times 3x is 9x squared. 3x times negative 1 is negative 3x. The next one, we have 8, 4, and 16. So my greatest common factor here is 4. And then we need to check the variables. So this one has an x cubed, this one has an x squared, but then this doesn't have an x. Since this one doesn't have an x, then we cannot factor out an x from all of these. They all have to have at least one x. So the only thing I'm going to factor out is this 4. So basically we're dividing everything here by 4. 8 divided by 4 is 2. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 16 divided by 4 is 4. If you check your work, 4 times 2x cubed is 8x cubed. 4 times negative x squared is negative 4x squared, and 4 times 4 is 16. So here we have 4, 3, and 19. And the greatest common factor is 1. Since the greatest common factor is 1, we don't need to factor it out because we end up with the same thing. Now we need to check the variables. So we have an x here, but you don't see an x, so we cannot factor out an x. Then we have a y, and a y. So if we write that 3 times, then this is just y and y. So I can only circle one y here. So that means that what they have in common is just that one y. So if I factor out a y, I'm dividing everything by y. So for this one, I get 4x. Here, y divided by y is 1, and y divided by y is 1. Okay, so y times 4x is 4xy, y times -3 is -3y, y times y plus 19 is 19y, and we can simplify further. -3 plus 19 is 16. Okay, let's practice some more. So we have 6, which is 1, 2, 3, and 6. 4 is 1, 2, and 4. And 10 is 1, 2, 5, and 10. So our greatest common factor is 2. And then let's look at the x's. We have an x cubed, x squared, and x, so they all have at least one x. So we write x cubed, x squared, and x. X cubed is x times x times x. X squared is x times x. And x is just x. So I can only factor one x out, since that's what's common to all three. So your greatest common factor would be the 2 and the x. So for this term, 6x cubed, we're going to be dividing by 2x. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. X cubed divided by x is x squared. So 2x times 3x squared is 6x cubed. And then divide the 4x squared by 2x. 4 divided by 2 is 2. X squared divided by x is x. And then last, divide the 10x. So 10x divided by 2x. 10 divided by 2 is 5. And x divided by x is 1. This part here, you want to check, it might need more factoring. And we'll be able to do that in the next few sections. So we can come back to that. The next one, we have 21. And I'm going to go ahead and write it here, just so it has more space. So for this one, we have the numbers are 21, 18, and 27. 18 is 1 times 18, 2 times 9, 3 times 6. 27 is 1 times 27, and 3 times 9. So my greatest common factor is 3. Then we need to check the variables. So we have x4, x cubed, and x squared. So this gives me 4 x's, 3 x's, and 2 x's. So notice that I can circle 2 x's that they have in common. So my greatest common factor is going to be the 3 and x times x, which is x squared. So for the variables, the smallest exponent is the one that you're going to be using as part of your greatest common factor. So now the problem here is 21x to the fourth minus 18x cubed plus 27x squared. So we have 3x squared as our greatest common factor. So again, we're dividing everything by your greatest common factor. So 21 divided by 3 is 7. X to the fourth divided by x squared is x squared. 18 divided by 3 is 6. X cubed divided by x squared is x. 27 divided by 3 is 9. And then x squared divided by x squared is 1. Always check your parentheses to see if it needs more factoring. Okay, so it might need more factoring, which we'll come back to this once we cover that part. Okay, so for this one, our answer is 3x squared, 7x squared minus 6x plus 9. Letter C. And so for letter C, we have the number 2, 18, and 24. And what they have in common is 2. And then for the x's, we have x4, x cubed, and x squared. So again, you have a 4, 3, and a 2. That means that 2 is the one that we'll be using, the smallest exponent. And the reason is that if we write it this way, we can only circle 2. So my greatest common factor is 2x squared. So once you have your greatest common factor, we can write down our problem. And I'm going to write our common factor here, 2x squared. And so what we're doing is dividing everything by our common factor. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. X to the fourth divided by x squared is x squared. 18 divided by 2 is 9. X cubed divided by x squared is 1. 24 divided by 2 is 12. X squared divided by x squared is 1. Again, you want to check to see if this might need more factoring. Okay, so we have 2x squared minus 9x plus 12. And again, just make sure that we come back to check if this needs more factoring. And then the last one that we have here, letter D. First, we check our coefficients. So we have 6, 2, and then this one here is a 1 and negative 3. So 1, 2, 3, 6, 1 and 2, 1, 1 and 3. So your greatest common factor here is a 1. Since 1 is the greatest common factor, then we're not going to factor anything out. Let's check the variables. We have an x squared. This one does not have x squared, so we cannot factor out an x. And then the y's, this one does not have a y, so we cannot factor out the y. So this right here can't be factored using the greatest common factor. So we need other ways to factor that.